Okay. Now, you're not doing this by yourself. You got a bunch of co-conspirators.
Right.
And some of these are women. I guess you're really big on Match.com at that
Oh,
point. And you met a woman named Becky,
right.
and the two of you started basically doing mortgage fraud together. I mean, you also had other friends like Travis and so forth. And
Oh
things
my
are starting
God.
to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
am I,
Well,
am I not supposed to mention these people?
no, I just wonder who's if they because the other ones I very seldomly heard. I don't know about the names. Anyway, no, it's fine. They know what it is. Becky, Rebecca Hauk, she she actually was not committing fraud at this time. What happened was I started dating her, and I had several people. I mean, I had, and some people were. How can I put this? Like one time, I had to have a guy show up for a closing. Okay, there was a guy, James Red. To give you an example, is a guy named James Red, which was a phantom borrower. He didn't exist. Well, I had been closing those loans, just getting the closing package and signing it myself. And I used to make make IDs, a copy of an ID, and the picture on the ID, I would use a picture from the Hillsborough County website, the arrest website. So if you'd been arrested, I may use your picture on an ID. I know you because if I ever need this guy to show up, I need to know the person. I need to know who's on the picture. So at one point, I'd use the picture of a guy I knew by the name of Eric. And so what I did was I made a driver's license with his picture on it, said James Red, put it on the file and closed several files. Well, at some point, the title person called me and said, look, she had heard through the grapevine somehow or another, she had heard that these people didn't exist. She started to put it together. So she calls and says, from now on, the borrowers have to show up. So I then call Eric, and Eric comes in. I say, Eric, I need a favor from you. He goes, what's that? And he doesn't have a clue what's going on. And I explained to him, look, I've been buying houses for $40,000 and recording the prices at like $190,000 and $200,000. And I've been using people's mugshots on the Hillsborough County arrest website and closing and then getting the money and then taking the money and reinvesting it. And he's like, holy shit, that's amazing. And I went, yeah. And he goes, okay. And I said, the problem is that the woman at the title company, now she wants this guy to actually show up, this guy, James Red. And he goes, oh, okay. He goes, well, what are you going to do? Who's going to show up? I said, I need somebody to go in there and sign for James Red. And he says, well, who are you going to get? I said, well, I was thinking you. And he went, oh, I don't know, bro. That's a big favor. I said, I know, Eric. I said, but I need somebody to go in. And he goes, well, wait a minute. You said you've been using these guys' pictures on arrest pictures. She already has a picture of this guy, James Red. She's going to know it's not me. I said, well, actually, Eric, here's the problem. I said, I actually used your picture for James Red from when you slapped your ex-wife around a few years ago. He jumps up. He's like, you motherfucker. I'll beat your fucking. I was like, whoa. I said, bro, I said, listen. I said, I know what you're thinking. I said, I said, but the only reason I used your picture was because you were the only person I knew that could pull this off, that have the balls to go in there and pull this off if it came to this point. And you remember he started nodding like, yeah, okay. And he goes, well, I'm not going to do it for nothing. I said, absolutely. How much money do you want? And he goes, I said, bro, just, tell me what you want, man. And he goes, I want $500. I mean, $500. I just told him I was buying the houses for 40 and pulling out like 150. $500. So we go to the title company. I make a fucking ID with his picture on it. We go to the title company. The woman walks out and says, Mr. Cox, what are you doing here? I said, I'm not doing any more of these closings unless the client show up. She goes, this is James Red's closing. Eric stands up and says, I'm James Red. She opens the file, pulls out the picture that I'd been using, looks at it and goes, my God, I'm so sorry. Mr. Red, come on in. We go to the title. We go into the closing. He signs all the documents. She cuts some checks, 9,000 here, 30,000 here, 10,000 here, 40,000 here, 5,000 here. He sees the checks. We get out in the car. I count out $500. He's like, man, that's fucked up, bro. He's like, that was a lot of money. He's like, a lot of that money goes back into the properties, Eric. You know, a lot of that's reinvested. It's not all my money. He's like, all right, I understand. So like a week later, I have another closing. I call him up again. I said, Eric, I need you to come do another closing. And he goes, yeah, man, I ain't doing it for $500, bro. I seen all them checks. You're making a lot of fucking money. You guys are driving nice cars. You live in a nice house. And I said, bro, okay, I understand. I said, tell me what you need. How much money do you want? Let me know. And I remember thinking, if he asked for more than $10,000 or $15,000, I was just going to go to another title company and I'd go in and sign myself. Because they wouldn't have the old files to compare the picture to. So I sat there and he goes, yeah, it's a big favor. And I went, I know, I understand, Eric. And he goes, I want $1,000. I mean, $1,000. I mean, what the fuck? What's going on? I was like, I had to stop from laughing. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, the point is I give him $1,000. He signs, come back, give him $1,000. So yeah, he's one of my co-defendants. About that same time, that's when I'm dating Rebecca Houck. I start dating her, and that's when the guy shows up. The sheriff's deputy shows up and tells me that there's a task force that was put together, and they've been investigating me.
Okay, so then the FBI is starting to really get wind of this whole situation,
Right?
And they're tying in all the people that you're doing it with,
Right.
And I guess the state law enforcement investigator said that this was one of the most largest and most flagrant displays of public records and banking manipulations we've ever seen, and Cox is the puppet master.
Right. That's what he told the FBI. Yeah, that's when they handed over the investigation to the FBI. And at that same time, a sheriff's deputy who I'd done like $1 million worth of loans for, at least, for he and his ex-wife, he came to me and he told me he used to date a girl on the Tampa police officer. He was a Hillsborough County deputy. He used to date a Tampa police officer, and she was on the task force. And she told him, your buddy Matt Cox is about to be arrested by the FBI. And so I only had like she was like within a day or two. This was a Thursday. So on Thursday, it was like 4:00 on a Thursday. So I got out some money that day. The next day, I had a bunch of people cash checks, pulled out about $80,000. Told my girlfriend, Rebecca Houck, which I'd only been dating like a month, maybe 6 weeks. I'm packing my bags and she comes in and she sees me packing my bags and she says, what are you doing? What's going on? And I said, I'm leaving. I tell her what happened and what's going on. And she says she wants to come with me. And it was just a huge mistake letting her come with me. Just a massive fucking mistake.
Okay, so you know that the FBI's about to come in, so you just go on the run. And I guess 3 days after you leave, they actually raid your office. So now you're on the run from the FBI.
Right.
And you stay on the run for 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. So explain to me how someone that's wanted by the FBI stays not only under the radar for 3 years, but continues to make money by fraudulent means.
Well, I'm not sure it was under the radar. Every time I committed fraud, they found out about it. It comes to their attention. Well, what happened was, the scam in Tampa was designed so that it could be investigated, and they didn't know there was an actual scam. Well, once I went on the run, I no longer had those types of restraints on me. So I was no longer concerned with whether the FBI or anybody showed up. I wasn't trying to hide the fraud at this point. So I didn't have very much money. I had like $80,000 in cash, and that sounds like that's a lot of money. But when you're on the run and you don't have a job and it's you and your girlfriend and you don't have much, it's not a lot of money. So I went straight to Atlanta and I rented a house from a guy named Michael Shanahan. Well, actually, Becky rented the house. So, and I assumed his name, made a fake ID in his name, and I created a credit profile in his name. And I borrowed about roughly $400,000 from 3 different investors, hard money lenders. So, I got his house. I'm renting it. I make an ID in his name. I then went to public records and I satisfy the loan on his house. So he has a house, he's had it for 10 years, and I satisfy the loan. So it now, if you look at the title work on his house, he owns a house free and clear because I filed what's called a false satisfaction of mortgage. So, and I'm him. I then called 3 hard money investors, hard money lenders. They came out, looked at the house. One guy comes out at 10 o'clock. Another guy comes out at 2 o'clock. Another guy comes out at 5 o'clock. They all look at the house and they all agree to lend me like $150,000. So they all lend me around $150 a piece. I think one guy lent me like $100,000. And I close those loans at the same time within a couple of days of each other. And so I get a check for $150,000 at this closing, $150 at this one, $100 at this one. And then I go and I deposit those checks into the bank and I start pulling out cash. So I get like $400,000 in Atlanta. So I was cashing checks. I was trying to stay under the radar by cashing checks that were under $10,000. Obviously, you don't want a CTR filed. So, and so I was staying under the $10,000 threshold, trying to. I think at one point I did cash a check for 29 grand.
Okay. And you and Becky were being called the Bonnie and Clyde of mortgage fraud.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That happened. That was, I think Dateline did a 1-hour special on us, and we were in Fortune magazine, and Bloomberg Business Week did St. Pete Times did like 30 articles on us. Tampa Tribune, there was a lot of articles. A lot of articles.